capture. Escape. Okay. Okay, Olivia, here we go. Have a good show.
Thank you.
5 and 3, 2, 1. You're live now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Innerstand2Ascend. We've got a very interesting topic today. Well, as usual, but I would say that this one is quite profound. It all actually started from a friend asking me a question in a voice message, like, Olivia, how is it with this karma? Because I feel like there's not so much justice on this world, and we are gonna talk about what justice really means in this video as well. And she asked me, how does karma actually work? Are those who caused us harm, caused us certain things that made our circumstances in here quite complicated? She asked me, are they going to pay for what they did? And I must say that I kind of knew the answer, but I wasn't exactly sure how to put it into words, because the answer for her questions literally came within like 2 seconds. I just started to get like a stream of visions, and I got a little bit frustrated because I suddenly knew everything within 2 seconds, but I wasn't quite sure how to put it into words. So I had to tune in with that for a little bit, and I actually received quite of an interesting answer, which actually triggered me kind of tuning in with my higher self and receiving a message from my walk-in. Okay, that's something that you're going to speak on your next show. So it's time to start receiving some questions and answering for them. So that's pretty much what I was doing for the last couple of days. I must say that the energies coming in for the whole past week were very, very strong. So the meetings, the discoveries that I've had with people during my sessions were also quite interesting. And they've been related to the topic of karma a lot, actually. So we are going to look into that. I was actually wondering, how am I gonna start? And I think that I'm going to begin with actually defining what karma is and what karma is not, because there are many different distorted perceptions about what something that we define as karma really is. Something often happens to us and we are like, yeah, it's our karma for this and this and this, and that's actually how we create a program in our fields. So karma is a powerful word, and I advise everyone to never use it against yourself or other people, because it can actually it can manifest a lot. Okay, so I would define karma in 2 different ways. I actually wrote down 2 definitions for it. So first of all, karma is the misuse of personal free will choice of other people that manifests as a template distortion. So let's say we are doing something which causes harm to other people and we do it intentionally. That creates a certain reversed imprint of energy. Why is that exactly happening? I will get into that, because it's more than just talking about morality and what is right to do, what is wrong to do when it comes to others. There's like a certain reality of physics in it, that good deeds create beautiful frequency and beautiful energy configurations in our template, and bad deeds create exactly the opposite. So I will get into that later. Karma is also an inserted belief that there is a certain energetic debt that we have to pay off through different lifetimes. So that's one of the programs that we have been fed with for quite a while now, that we are born in this body, in this incarnation, and there is already something that happened before that is defining us and that is affecting our living circumstances. So for example, like somebody may think that, okay, someone was born in a poor family with some disabilities, and that person is basically paying off a lot of heavy karma, while it's actually not true. Every situation needs to be analyzed in a very individual way. And I will get more into that later. However, when it comes to karma, we don't have to work through it. We can clear it. So just to understand this concept in a better way, because that's actually what we have been doing for eons, where you are born in a certain incarnation, and in the past we were much more aware of these imprints that we were carrying, that somebody was calling karma, and we were taught to do it the long way. So we were working through our different lifetimes. Sometimes it was taking more than one lifetime to actually be able to fully clear this imprint, which is like a tangible manifestation in the DNA. And later on, this imprint was being cleared and we were taking care of the other, and that was probably taking thousands of years. Right now, we can very easily clear this template, clear this distortion from our templates with the use of the plasma frequencies, which can very easily bring back the original coding that we have, because basically karma is reversing many of our DNA template sequences. So maybe the first question that I'm going to get to, let me see. Okay, maybe we are going to look into how does karma relate to our living circumstances first. So basically, when we speak about karma, when I will be using the word karma, it's nothing that cannot be reversed. It's nothing that cannot be cleared. When I speak about karma, I'm talking about the miasmatic imprint, reversed imprint that is in the DNA, and that is causing a certain blockage, a template blockage. And this template blockage may be affecting your 3D life circumstances, like you may be having troubles with abundance. There might be issues with relationships and such things. This is basically related to karmic imprints, but this isn't a karmic debt. These are basically stuck energy imprints that need to be released. So how does karma relate to our living circumstances? What karmic imprints do is that they limit our manifestation power. Instead of creating harmonious outcome, we often manifest the opposite. Karmic imprints are actually reversed energetic signatures that distort the organic energy flow. When some of the karmic imprints manifest directly in our 3D drama, they result in us repeating a certain pattern that we have already experienced. When such thing occurs, it is important to transform such imprint and clear it from our template so it does not repeat again. Because basically, sometimes people spend the whole lifetime or a couple of lifetimes to go through a certain experience and to basically draw a lesson from it. But once we become aware that there are certain patterns that are repeating in our life, for example, example that I would like to bring up is especially when a child is being born in a family with different sorts of abuse, and then this person is experiencing abuse in relationships as they go on. Well, that's a certain pattern that they are having, and that's probably a karmic pattern. For sure, it's a karmic pattern. But how do they escape it if they want to get out of it, but somehow their encryption, which is holding that karmic pattern in their DNA, is still attracting such people? That's becoming a problem, because sometimes for people it seems like they have learned they have basically gone through their lessons, they drew enough conclusions, but still this keeps repeating again. And that basically means that they haven't cleared that imprint from their template, and they keep attracting people with the encryption that is basically compatible to something that they carry inside of themselves. That's why clearing it from the energetic side is as important as drawing conclusions from why certain pattern keeps repeating in your life. What I would like to say here, I received quite of an interesting question when it comes to the Incas talking about the law of reciprocity, which is called the Aini, where basically I will read what this law is, the law of reciprocity. That's a difficult word. Okay. Where you give from your heart without expecting anything back, in full trust and knowing that you will receive back from the cosmos for your good deeds. Is this a true spiritual law or a manipulation tool used to encourage slavery? So basically, whenever you make a good deed without expecting anything in return, you receive back some nice manifestation from the cosmos. That's basically what the Incas used to believe in. Well, I would say that this is true, but only in organic systems of Christic ascension. So normally, if we weren't in these circumstances, if we weren't in these planetary circumstances that we are right now, this law would work very easily. So we would give from the heart and we would receive beautiful energies back. There would be an outflow of energy and a backflow return from the source. And this way, we would receive basically anything that we manifest technically. But unfortunately, I would like to bring an example here when it comes to the laws of physics that work here. Because basically we know that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's one of the laws that Newton came up with. And this is a law that is describing a fallen system. So if we look at it this way, when it comes to the laws of manifestation, if we create something, we receive exactly the opposite of it. While in ascension systems, every action has a reciprocally appropriate reaction. I will read that once again. Every action has a reciprocally appropriate reaction. So that means that you receive exactly what you manifested. Your energy, the energy that you send out, comes to what you intended. And then once you receive a backflow of energy back to you, it is basically balanced in a way. So it's like the energy perfectly follows your intention along with the along with the laws of physics. But I would say that in this realm, we are having a little bit of these two, because people often wonder, why am I manifesting something and I'm receiving exactly the opposite? Well, that's because there is still the law of action and reaction here. That is the distorted law of a fallen system. So when you manifest something, you're receiving exactly the opposite. So this kind of gives us more insight on how this actually works when it comes to why certain people are so good at manifesting what they want and why some people struggle so much with it. It's actually because our manifestation power depends on how many miasms, karmic imprints we have in our DNA, because basically the karmic imprints work as blockages in our DNA that also block our manifestation power. But on the other hand, I think that right now, as we are progressing with Earth, transforming to becoming its higher version of itself, we will be having more and more of that organic power of manifestation. So basically, every action will have an appropriate reaction. And that is great that it's happening progressively. So we are adjusting with time to the fact that our manifestations are really happening. I even noticed lately that many people tell me that oh, whatever I manifest, it's actually happening. That's something great, and I think that the most important thing to remember here is being responsible and aware of your own manifestations. Because everything we think about, everything you manifest actually starts to become a living being, a tangible conscious energy imprint. So there is also a certain level of responsibility in this. So just to conclude that question about that, about Incas talking about kind of giving from your heart without expecting anything back, and then you just know that you will receive exactly what you need. This will be appearing more and more in our reality, but as for now, it's 50-50. And the more of the karmic imprints you heal within yourself, the more successful you will be in manifesting your own reality. So basically, in eternal ascension systems, there is no karma, because these systems are at state of harmonious vibration co-resonance, which is love, where the free will choices are fully aligned with the divine will of the God source. And maybe I'm going to get into this part where I will kind of explain what the free will means and what the divine will really means, because actually there is a slight difference here when it comes to discerning what is the divine will and what is the free will. So what made me kind of write this excerpt is somebody asking me, I heard that fallen from Amoreya source, disconnected beings, so basically beings that are no longer connected with the Christ consciousness, in simple terms, that for them there is no karma. Is this true? So I'm going to kind of read a little bit about the mechanics of how the karmic imprints out picture in this world. And this way you will get more insights on what is the answer for this question, how it also works for these beings that are disconnected from the source energies, and also the ones which are kind of which have been ruling our realm for quite a while, and how they have been pulling us into this wheel of incarnations and the wheel of karma. Whenever a breach of free will takes place, it manifests in the DNA template and morphogenetic field as a reversed miasmic pattern. This miasmic pattern starts to cut off the organic connection we have with the cosmic unified field / the God source consciousness fields. We can picture it this way. We have millions of tiny cords that begin in different layers of our personal biofields and they reach up to the source, to the fields of the source. The miasmic pattern limits the reach and weakens the capacity of these energy cords. And it also causes the disbalance between outflow and the backflow return of energy. So it's basically distorting the perpetual organic energy exchange. So what that really means is that every single being at first is having beautiful connections to the source. So basically, since everything which is inside of the fields of the source in the cosmic unified field is interconnected, so we are able to exchange energy between each other, and we are in co-creation, whether we want it or not. That's how it works. But you can always choose to disconnect from anything that doesn't serve your highest good. That's important to remember. So whenever we send our energy towards a certain outcome, organically, the energy is going through all of these circuits, comes to source, our intention goes to the source, and the source is returning this energy back to our bodies and back to our fields towards a certain outcome. However, once a breach of free will takes place, so the breach of free will, what I mean by that, so whenever you create something that is good for you, but is harmful for others, that's when you're breaking the free will of other beings. And that's when certain distortions takes place in the cosmic unified field. Because basically, co-creation along with the source means co-creation with the divine will of the source. And the divine will gave each of the individuated beings the free will. However, the free will implies that you can use it in any kinds of manifestations, and you have free will to create along with the divine will of the source, so in co-creation with all the forms of life and for their highest good, or you can co-create against it and harming yourself and other beings. And this is always a matter of a personal choice, how you decide to play in this game. Whenever our personal free will choices are not aligned with the divine will, in most cases that means that they breach the free will choice of other living conscious beings. It can be perceived as one spark of the source coming against the other. That's how it's perceived in the eyes of the source. And it's not like the God source is gonna be angry at us or anything like that. That's a concept of other religions. The source always accepts any kind of choice we make, because we come back to the source sooner or later. We either ascend fully with all of our memories we've been through, we bring new knowledge and new experiences to the God source fields, or we come back as space dust. So it's always a personal choice. So, as I said, it can be perceived as one spark of the source coming against the other. True Christic races can feel others' pain and suffer, and they always choose to make decisions aligned with the divine will, as well as the free will of other beings, as they are aware that we are all in a co-creation. Each individuated source expression is a segment of the huge cosmic unified field that we all exist within. Thus, there is no separation, there is only common co-creation. So basically, people who consider themselves as empaths often being able to very much be able to tune in with the way others feel. They are having a lot of Christic coding within themselves. And that's why people who are empaths, they often make choices where they also consider other people. Well, I would say that it's important to maintain balance here, where you make the best choice for yourself without breaking the free will of others. It always must be respected. Beings that fell from the Amoreia source forgot about that indelible connection that we all have to everything that exists. Once we start to co-create against the divine will, the organic energy flow gets reversed. There is a certain moment when these imprints reach a critical mass, and that's when we start to disconnect from the perpetual energy flow. And it's important to note here that we never disconnect from the source, because we still exist within the God source consciousness fields, but we cut ourselves off from the energy supplies that come from the source, from the 0 point. Such forms of life lose their eternal life potential, and thus they become finite. That's when such beings need to siphon energy from other forms of life in order to survive, which puts them into another vicious circle of energy siphoning. Those that reached critical mass level disconnection from the Amoreia source are not any longer eternal life creators, but finite life energy vampires that keep imprinting themselves with more and more reversals as this vicious circle of victim-victimizer energy draining goes on. So what I mean by that is that you reach a certain level of disconnection, these beings, and that's what started to happen actually billions years ago in our galaxy and our time matrix, where these beings cut themselves off from the Christ consciousness, and they started taking energy away from other beings, and they were doing it without their permission on the first place. So that was another imprint that was getting saved in their template. So that just kept going and going and going. And that became a victim-victimizer game that we fell into. And that game kind of still keeps going, but it's coming to an end at this time. When such fallen beings reach the gone full status, they basically completely disconnect from the source. Their manifested vehicles, where their consciousness is located in, so like their bodies, are at risk of space dust return. That's when the gone full consciousness chooses to begin infiltration of other beings' vessel, as that's the most effective way for them to keep up their existence going. So basically, usually the beings that infiltrate other beings' bodies, they are usually having a lot of template reversals. For fallen angels, and especially the impostor races, the ones that are kind of like the masters of the fallen, let's say the fallen of the fallen, they have a certain ability that they have been applying, especially on this planet. And that is something referred to as the karmic transfer, where certain karmic patterns are being moved from one being to the other. They can only affect the light body template though, not the plasma template. But sometimes light body seems to be enough. So basically what they are doing is that when they, especially that's how they are targeting certain souls, that when they kind of don't have enough quantum to leave this realm, and they have to come back on this planet again in another incarnation, they are actually being transferred more karmic imprints, artificial transfer to the template, and that's why they are having more and more karmic debt to work through. And of course, they don't have to work through it, as I said before, but they are getting very heavily imprinted so they could basically stay on the planet, and so the energy can be drained from them. So I kind of gave a few examples of how certain beings on this planet put us into this loop of the karmic wheel. And what I mean by karmic wheel is basically where we are forced into these sets of incarnations all over again because of these imprints that keep us here, because that's kind of what the karmic imprints are doing. We are forced to incarnate from one body to the other because we are in this mindset like we haven't worked through it yet, we have to do that again. Well, you don't have to, but you have to do something about it, which means you have to clear these imprints from your template. So what these beings are doing, first of all, they are taking away our soul contract. I've been talking about it a little bit in my previous videos, where getting back the soul contract is very important. And what they are doing is they are very often editing out or adding certain information into it. So they are actually trying to insert certain things into our soul contract that don't really even belong in there. The next thing is infiltration of the Akashic records. So whenever somebody is connecting to the Akashic records, trying to find out more about themselves, they may find out things about themselves which aren't nice, but which aren't even true. So this may also insert certain fake beliefs about who they were in the past, what kind of things they did in the past, and that's kind of like another self-blaming game where they may believe that they were bad people in the past and that they have to pay for it in the next lifetimes, while it's actually not true at all on the first place. The third aspect of this agenda is inserting the fake beliefs about karma. So as I said before, this illusion of the karmic debt is the first thing, where it's been actually so much inserted into the collective consciousness that we believe it very easily because it's in the minds of many people. And if there is like a big mass belief being created, it's affecting the whole consciousness field. Also in the Hinduism, we have this belief here that positive actions, which is called the good karma, they lead to a better rebirth, while the negative actions, bad karma, may result in lower form of existence. So I think that there is some kind of belief out there that, I don't know, if let's say you were a thief or some kind of like a person with doing a lot of bad deeds towards other people, you may even incarnate as an animal or something like that. I'm not even sure if it's this religion, but it's actually not quite true. It's not quite true because it depends on many factors. Doing positive actions don't mean that, for example, a person who was working as a volunteer in the hospital is going to be a millionaire in the next life. That's totally not true. We have a certain free will choice when it comes to choosing the incarnation that we want, but that's actually another aspect where very often when a soul is going through a life review and they are like, okay, I have to incarnate again, and as long as they aren't born on the wrong timeline, but I won't be even getting into that, I feel like I need to kind of dedicate another full video about being on timelines and deceptions about timelines. If somebody would like to hear me talking about it, just kind of let me know as well. Anyways, what I wanted to say here is that when a soul is facing a choice of, okay, what kind of life would I like to have? If they are having certain karmic imprints inserted that don't even belong to them, they will have that kind of illusion before incarnating, like, oh, I need to incarnate into this body because I need to pay off this karmic debt and that karmic debt, and I'm just going to suffer in this life. Well, you actually don't have to. if you just kind of cleared that karmic imprint before. But actually, once your soul leaves the body, the process of going through karmic clearing is actually much more longer. So it's better to deal with clearing all of your karmic imprints in this when you're still in an incarnation. And since actually all of your incarnations, when we talk about them, they are happening at the same time because time is simultaneous. So you can always choose from the point of the now to make a decision, to make a different decision from the past or from the future. And this way you are affecting your time vector and you are basically directing yourself towards better and better timelines. So that's the kind of repatterning, I call it, the repatterning of the karmic imprints. That's what I've been doing a lot on my sessions lately. And it's bringing incredible results. It kind of brings a sense of relief that I have worked through this and I don't need to go through the same kind of pattern again. So I would say that this is very important. And talking about collective karma, I kind of listed a few aspects of the collective karma, basically, because we have the individual karma, we have the race karma, we have the planetary karma, galactic karma, universal karma, and we can go up the ladder. But actually, what are the aspects of the collective karma? So the karma of the human race. And just to kind of indicate that most of these imprints have been inserted here to block us. While the first aspect of the collective karma is the race amnesia. So we do not remember anything about ourselves and the planet Earth and this galaxy and this universe. That has been inserted. Blockages on our perception. So we do not see other reality fields than this 3D hologram. That's another aspect of the collective karma of something that is imprinted here. Programming. So that involves the mass mind control programs, brainwashing, etc. Fake religious and scientific beliefs. They basically create huge schema fields in the collective consciousness. So just like I gave that example with paying off the karmic debt, there is also like this huge concept of the God source, where basically usually people, when they think about God, they see this huge Lord sitting on the throne and that he's going to be basically deciding who's going to heaven or not. That's another huge aspect that has been inserted here. Our soul contracts, which are infiltrated, unless you get them back. Right now, more and more people are getting them back. So this imprint is progressively releasing, and that means that the more that the souls that will be incarnating in the future, they won't have that issue with the soul contract, so it will be easier for them to find their true purpose, why they came here. Limited free will. So I just would like to come back for a moment to what I talked about already, where in this kind of blended system that we are, which is kind of like between phantom and between the organic ascension symptom, basically, I lost my point here. Right, the limited free will. So when we talk about the limited free will, in the false systems, the more a system is fallen, the less of the free will is there. A person is becoming more and more dependent on the unified field of that system. So basically, if you're like in a very phantom system, when you try to manifest your reality, it's just going to bounce back at you with an exactly opposite result. And that's basically showing that you don't really have free will. You want to have something created, but it doesn't happen, right? So we are having a little bit of both, where we receive exactly where our energy goes, and where we still kind of sometimes receive this opposite of that reaction. So we are getting a little bit of these two right now. That's why our free will is limited right now. But we are having more and more field work right now. There is a lot of more powerful frequencies coming in where we start to get more aligned with that organic ascension way of energy flow. And that's going to progress. So this is also an imprint that is right now very intensely being cleared out from the collective consciousness field and incarnating with a certain amount of reversals. That's another aspect of the collective karma where there are certain reversals that we need to take on ourselves in order to incarnate here. So like, let's say a certain percentage of the Metatronic code. That's kind of how it works, where you need to have certain levels of the Metatronic code in your body in order to be able to come on this planet and live in its environment. Okay. I have a question here. When we do a life review, are we completely alone and nobody tells us there are inserts which are not true? So the problem with the life review is that it's also a certain type of deception here. Caroline has been talking about it very well, Caroline Tamek, where actually that's something very accurate what she said, that when you're having a life review, like when your soul leaves the body, you only remember the life that you had. So you don't remember your past lifetimes. And you're not really kind of seeing everything, right? So if you weren't exactly conscious of the way that things work in here, you might not even be conscious of the deception that takes place. So that's why the life review is also a little bit twisted here. So I'm just going to kind of summarize what I said about the free will. So the free will is a tool that we use to create our own reality within the mass collective unified field of the cosmos. When one's free will is aligned with the divine will of the God source, so it means that it doesn't breach the free will of other beings, there is a continuous energy exchange between the individual and God source. When one's free will is used against, or is not in a, which means it's not in alignment with the divine will of God source, which means that it's used against other forms of life, the connection between the individual and the God source weakens, and the disharmonious energy signature that was created by the misuse of the personal free will gets imprinted in the individual's morphogenetic field. Later on, these imprints start to condition one's reality and affect the power of personal manifestation. So that's basically how this process works. Okay. Okay, so I'm guided now to speak a little bit about that context of justice. Is there something called justice on the first place? People often thrive for justice, especially after having experienced a painful or traumatic event. Sometimes they even choose to be the ones giving others in their own judgment the right punishment. However, it isn't anyone's concern or a matter to take care of. Each action we take has a certain consequence. Each decision that we make is going to have a certain outcome. The Judgment Day, as it's kind of referred to, so when I actually speak about the Judgment Day, I'm talking about the life review, is going to be much more different than we all think. And maybe this will kind of answer that question that was asked a moment ago. It will come for each one of us in the divine right timing. That's when we will see our lifetime, our deeds, and the way we have been perceived by others. Nobody will be judging us except for ourselves. We will be our own judges. So there will be nobody else there except for ourselves. Unless you have some attachments in your field, then that's a kind of like a different matter. So make sure that you don't. Our frequency levels will decide which path we should follow. So that's also kind of if you don't have enough frequency to transition to other realm, you will choose a path for yourself, an incarnation that kind of suits your energetic encryption the most. This is why, instead of seeking for justice on this world, it's much better to look into ourselves and heal the disharmonious aspects of ourselves that are still out there. Certain mental and emotional imprints result from the fact that we keep being connected with imprints of the past instead of being in the now. So basically that means that you still hold on to certain things that happened a long time ago instead of focusing on where you are positioned right now. So that's like an aspect of yourself that you need to work on. The judgment day will come for us, for all beings, including the fallen angels. Nobody could escape it. Eventually, each one of us will face tangible results of our own manifestations. So it's not like when we do something, nothing really happens. Basically, the best way to describe it is each action has a consequence, but not an equal and opposite reaction, but it should be appropriate to the energy that we send out. I guess that's the best way to conclude it. And just to clarify the definitions, somebody asked me here, what is the difference between karma and contract, and how do we clear it? So karma is in some way, a karma in some way may manifest as a certain type of contract. Karma is an energetic imprint, while the contract is a manifestation of it. So I guess that's the best way to describe it, that karma is like an imprint in your DNA template, and the contract is like a deal that keeps it together, let's say. So when you're working on releasing karmic contracts, I connected these to myself, karmic contracts, you first burn the contract in the white flame, and then you focus on clearing that imprint from your template. And that can be also done in the white flame. A friend of mine asked me if I run white flame of purification through my 15D template, 15-dimensional template, will that clear karma? So my answer for it is that it's a good step to begin with. The white flame of purification, which is the crystal flame, can assist with clearing any kind of imprints from our 15-dimensional anatomy that don't belong there, any kind of imprints that don't belong. However, the process of karmic clearing happens progressively. The more frequency accretes to the DNA template, the more purification takes place at the same time. The DNA template, which is the carrier of cellular memory, carries all imprints from our simultaneous past-future lifetimes. The more DNA strands and codes we activate, the more clearing takes place. So that means that working through karma is not like a 1-hour process. It's something that we need to check on a daily basis, maybe not a daily basis, but let's say weekly basis, or if something specific manifests in our lives. I think that in these 12 rules of spiritual hygiene that I was talking about last week, I think it was said there that it should be checked once in 2 weeks. Yes, something like that. Or whenever you feel a manifestation of it. And so, as I said, first of all, burn the contract. Second of all, run this white flame frequency through your template, and you may kind of see these black spots that are on your body. And this way you can easily just turn them into vapor and they will get cleared up. I may be also given a separate technique on how to kind of clear these imprints. I was seeing myself today in a rainbow tunnel, and as if I was kind of seeing that this tunnel is having like black windows. So whenever I'm walking through that tunnel, as if I'm walking through my timeline, these black windows are kind of distorting my pathway that I'm walking through. And I started to send these rainbow orbs, kind of requesting to the Earth Core to send me more of that rainbow frequency. And I was sending orbs of rainbow frequency to these black windows, and I was just closing them, and they were starting to disappear. And there was a moment when sufficient amount of these windows closed, and there was like a huge stream of frequency coming from the back of the tunnel, so I think from my past, right from my present body, and into the pathway that was continuing to the front of the tunnel, so as if it was going towards the future. So I think that's what I just described is a technique by itself. That's how you can clear any kind of interference you may be sensing on your timeline, especially if you're like, that's really not my day today. I don't feel like I even want to go through this day. That probably means that this specific day may be aligning with other days of the year, because we are kind of in this fake Gregorian calendar alignment where exactly a year ago something happened and that strikes right back at you. Or there's like a certain energetic alignment where a certain past timeline is interfacing with the present timeline. You never know. So it's good to apply this exercise in the morning so your day goes well, especially if you wake up and you're like, that's not really my good day today. So that's just an advice. Okay, so I already answered that question, but I will just read my answer for it. Is the whole idea of paying off the karmic debt actually true? So that's what we have been doing for eons through different lifetimes, and many of us actually ended up with even bigger amount of so-called karmic debt. So instead of clearing one, we just kept creating more and more. We can work through our karma the long way, but it may take us multiple lifetimes, and besides that, you are not forced to pay off your karmic debt, just like you have to pay the rent every month. It doesn't work like that. Many of us have been forced to believe that there is something to pay off. Our only responsibility is to get out of this mind loop and create karma and clear karma from our imprint. So basically, it's not like you will just sit on a meditation one day and you will be like, I intend to have all of my karmic imprints cleared. Forget it, it's not going to work like it. It requires conscious work, patience, and engagement. Maybe sending some nice plasmas through your body. And as I said, it's something that may come and go. So it's like, if you cleared a certain karmic imprint, it's not gonna come back. No way if you did it properly. But there may be other imprints coming back as you move through your timeline and as you accrete more and more frequencies. So that's just a certain process that you're going through. And I have like a very interesting question here. If someone is born with a certain disability, that means that they clear a lot of karmic debt in one incarnation. Is this true? So no, it's not true. And I would say that there are two options for a person who's having such condition. So first of all, people with disabilities, they are stuck in victim-victimizer game with a lot of imprints to clear, but to clear, not to work through by suffering. That's something different. or they have chosen to be born this way. And in such cases, very often, actually, very high encoded souls, kind of especially children with different disabilities that I've been working with so far, it's not like they had heavy karmic imprints on themselves. They have actually, they are usually very high encoded souls that are literally having such high frequencies that they are struggling to adjust the spirit energies to the physical body. And these high energies are literally causing the physical body to have issues with processing these energies, and that may be manifesting as different types of disease. But it's not always about a certain problem that is out there. So people with disabilities are not paying off their debt. They are usually wonderful souls with very high coding, who may have suffered a lot in their incarnational past, but they don't need to get through this karma by being sick. They can clear it just like us. A condition of disease often suggests that some disharmonic imprints are distorting the DNA structure, and that requires assistance. Very often, early childhood or past life events connected to injuries, traumatic death, epidemic, or mental illness may cause very tangible disabilities in the physical body, while the core of such condition is located in our morphogenetic fields. Our morphogenetic fields, which actually hold the whole memory matrix for us, and they hold the information. So basically, the way that I would describe it is when you're struggling with a certain disease, and I will get in a moment what is the issue with the genetic disease, that's probably caused by certain things that you've gone through in the past and that are affecting you from that vector. So if you've gone through certain epidemics, which are also imprinted in the collective consciousness, by the way, and they affect us very much. So people who got sick with COVID, they most likely also got sick with other diseases, which were the Black Death, the Spanish flu, these ones which were very much like on a global level. They have been affecting our template. And when another big virus is in the minds of the collective consciousness, your imprint is literally attracting it to the structure. That's why another aspect of working with your with clearing these imprints is actually working with clearing any kind of imprints from the epidemics. Something which I'm working a lot with people lately, as it's kind of coming out these days. Okay, so is karma playing a role in so-called genetically transmitted diseases? How can I clear the imprints of these? So karma is playing a role in these genetically transmitted diseases because they are basically imprints that are held in our DNA template, and they came from the ancestral imprint. So maybe it's something that I haven't mentioned yet here, but that's quite important, is that you are being born. As I said before, there's like this galactic karma, solar karma, planetary karma, collective consciousness karma, but there is also the karma coming from your ancestors, your ancestral karma. And these are your ancestors, not just from this life, but also from the previous lifetimes. So if you put this together, when it comes to the diseases that are being transmitted, they are also DNA distortions, and they are being spread from one generation to the other, to the other, to the other. So you may be the one affected by it in the first place. So it's about clearing these non-beneficial connections that we have with our family line, as our ancestors have been passing the karma from one generation to the other. So it's basically done in the same way, where let's maybe start with the imprints that you're aware of. So let's say if there's like a case of the breast cancer going in the family. First of all, imagine that you're cutting off that cord that is connecting. It's kind of the way that is showing up to me is often like there's like a line. There is like the daughter, the mother is behind her, grandmother is behind her, behind the mother, and the great grandmother is behind the grandmother, and they are having like a specific energetic connection where through that line certain things are being spread, and that line has to be cut off. So it's not like you're cutting yourself off from your family, but you're cutting off from the distorted energy transmissions that they may give to you. So you're cutting off that line. Usually you do it, if there's like a daughter, you do it on the level with your mother, and that's cutting off the connection that if you're having children, it's not gonna be spread any further. So this way you are also healing your family line. And of course, if there are any family members that would like to get rid of this imprint also, you can do this kind of process with them. Then you burn the contract that is causing this distortion. And then you remove that imprint from your template. And basically the crystal flame is the best way to do it. The rainbow plasmas are very powerful as well. Something that I've been working with today, and it kind of turned out to be very powerful, so I guess it's something that I'm gonna be using as well, is that right now with the accretion level that this planet has when it comes to the Nomi seed starting to breathe and send its powerful pulses, the Nomi seed can basically send us healing frequencies if we are connected with it. So let's consider that case where you are clearing yourself from that breast cancer imprint, and you burn the contract, and now you just want to amplify your DNA template and remove it from your genetic structure. So you focus for a minute on your intention, like I want to clear myself from that ancestral imprint causing the disease. And you inhale that intention to your heart chakra, and you send it down to the earth core, to the consciousness of the planet. You can wait for a minute, and you may feel like a gentle vibration under your feet, under the soles of your feet. And then just inhale like a beautiful rainbow line to your heart chakra, like a rainbow stream of frequency. It kind of looks like a liquid type of plasma in rainbow color. And then you spread it through your whole body. You inhale it and exhale it to basically kind of these dark spots that are in your template. And that energy is giving you a lot of power, a lot of beautiful kind of like regeneration. It gives a lot of comfort to the physical body, and it's basically transmuting these imprints that are causing this kind of condition. So this way you can work with things like that, and they are going to help a lot. And as I said, it's worth remembering that these genetically transmitted diseases may not be even coming from your family line from this time, but like from the previous from the previous lives as well. And even if you didn't get sick with a certain disease in a certain incarnation, because you don't have to, you're still carrying that imprint in your template, and you may pass it to your children, or you may get infected in the next life or the other. So that's why working like this is a good way. Sometimes it's good not to necessarily wait for certain imprints to manifest in your life. I would say that the best way is to just prevent them. Actually prevent them from invading your template and just making things worse. Let me see if there is something I didn't talk about. So basically, just to summarize a little bit, I would say that there are 3 types of karma, of imprints, that we need to clear. The first one is the collective karma of the human race and the collective karma that we have from our ancestors, the planet, the galaxy, and so on. And of course, we are not going to be able to save this planet by ourselves. So basically, the process of clearing the collective consciousness karma is a process that is going to take place as time goes by. But I would say that things are progressing in good direction. I just would like to mention something here, that we may be experiencing different weather phenomena, natural disasters, and it's actually not the planet clearing itself, but it's the collective consciousness. So, for example, the information that I received about that latest earthquake in Japan is that actually it was the clearing of the human collective consciousness, the release of these imprints. So there's a lot going on. Anyways, the second group are the karmic imprints from our past lifetimes and any kind of contracts related to it. And the third group is the karmic imprints that were inserted artificially by the impostor races, and the ones that we pick up from the environment, because basically just to kind of give an insight on picking up the karmic imprints from the environment. Normally, I always spoke about it, that when we have the structure of the atom, it's actually like a triveca. So we've got a top unit called the aviyas and the 2 aveyas, which are these 2 bottom units. And basically, the 2 aveyas come to the center and they merge with the aviyas, the central unit, and they spark and they basically create the living light energy. And this is something called the ayas force. While when a certain distortion happens, the aviyas unit, which is at the top, it gets split, and half of the quantum goes to each one of the aveyas, bottom units. And the aveyas merge in the biveka configuration, so that basically means that they become phase locked. And they cannot phase anymore, so they have to feed with energy. Sounds familiar, right? In order to survive. And so they attract very small units from the environment, and these are often very much different karmic imprints, and that's how they survive. And this is something called the Alu Satani force. So that's actually where the Satan and all of that is coming from. It's the Alu Satani. And basically, that's how we may attract certain karmic imprints to our environment and to our biofields, but that's nothing to worry about, because right now, as we go higher and higher with synchronizing ourselves with our core, with the rhythm of our plasma bodies, we basically, it doesn't happen as much. I must say that the way that I'm feeling about it is that the energies that come lately to this planet are so powerful that I don't even have to meditate so much anymore, because I do a few breaths, a few pillar breaths, and I'm just so charged to the point that I'm like, okay, I need to take some break, I need to ground myself more. And just like with this show, I was thinking that I'm gonna talk about it like for 2 hours when it comes to the karmic imprints, but it seems like 1 hour was enough to get through it. So thank you very much for listening. I'm also here if you have any questions, if you need any kind of assistance when it comes to the karmic imprints. I recently started to do sessions that are purely focused on clearing these imprints. It's called the Karmic clearing, where basically we resolve any kind of imprints that are basically interfering your personal timeline. So that would be everything. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm going to see you next week. So have a wonderful week and see you soon. Bye bye.
Okay, I love